Marguerite just joined us as well.
Realized I hadn't finished the minutes. Or did I? I did. Okay.
And I do apologize. I know things went out yesterday and it's just, I know I'm gonna be kind of a broken record, but I'm gonna kind of blame the book sale a lot. It just, there was, for many of you who, because a lot of you helped volunteer, like Marguerite took over cashiering for me.
Well,
Thank you, thank you for the help. And then just Heritage Day in particular, it's even more than the June sale. It's just a lot of coordination. There's a lot of things that need to come together for it. And it's just your help each year is really appreciated. And I know not everybody's in town, not everybody. Jane literally was in a sling, but she brought somebody and also shopped for like an hour and a half. So all of it helps.
Who's in a sling?
Yeah, her arm has an injury. So
Yikes.
What happened?
Marguerite,
I
this
think
is
she
the
had a-
first time I've seen you since you were elected.
I know. I'm so bad. I'm like an absentee landlord. It's like, but here I am, peeps. And no, Jane had a little surgery on her shoulder, I think. Is that right?
Oh,
yeah.
she okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's okay. And I'm sorry about the Microsoft Teams confusion. That's an automatic thing. I will try to correct that in the future. I usually am able to catch it, but I think it's, I messed up the time the first time I sent out the link. I did it again when I did the agenda. So I'm really sorry, guys. Everything is fixed now. So okay.
You treat us very well, Ryan.
Mhm.
Janet, how are your grandbabies?
You're good. Everybody's good.
You're seeing them a lot, I bet, right?
Well, I was seeing the Oregon one a ton, but now it won't be for a long time.
Oh,
I'm seeing the other one Saturday, so
oh, nice.
fill in the blanks. How's your son? How's your grandson?
He's good. He's very good. He's he was trying the STEM program at the library in Hudson, but apparently it was not to his liking, so he insisted on leaving. I think it was age 3 to 6, but I think it was more 6 than 3. So will he be working for NASA? Not anytime soon. So, but he's fun. He's really a sweetheart, as yours are too, I'm sure. They're
Well, I'm babysitting for the Vermont grandbaby for a weekend at the beginning of November, and I figured I was going to bring her to the library because what else am I going to do?
Well, libraries are good to start early, as we know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from September?
Are we going to call to order here first?
Yeah, do we have a quorum?
We do. We have everybody except Jane is here. Jane cannot attend tonight.
All right.
She reached out to me in
Okay.
advance. So
Hi, Kim.
I did. Kim's eating right now.
Hey, Marguerite.
I told Jane that I would touch base with her sometime after the meeting just to catch her up. And then Amy is with us as well. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing everybody, but I don't see. Yes, there's Amy. Okay, that's good. I will call the meeting to order. It is 6:36 on the 12th of October 2023. This is the Southborough Library Board of Trustees, and our first order of business is to approve the minutes of September 15th. Do I have any emendations, edits, corrections, complaints on the minutes?
Well, I will just say that as an analog guy in a digital world, that a sentence like deep freeze has been re-enabled and computers reboot between patron uses due to one computer being unable to be, quote, thawed, unquote, from deep freeze to update. It has been temporarily moved to blah, 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 blah. Thank you for thinking that I could understand that. Appreciate it.
to be honest, David, I don't think I understand it. So, I will have to say our IT team has been working a lot with systems they're unfamiliar with, and they've really been exceptional. I would have to say, trying to navigate this and get it done as quickly as possible. But because this is unfamiliar systems, this has been taking longer. They've also, we had to put them as authorized users with the vendor. So, and we were able to fix one of the machines, but not the other one. So that, didn't have a 100% happy ending, but I'll take the 80%. So.
All right.
Definitely. Well, it's all mystical to me, that's for sure. Do I have any edits or additions or corrections? If no, do I have a motion to accept the minutes of September 15th? Sorry.
So move.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Good. Let's do a roll call vote because we're on Zoom. Landry, aye. Eckberg,
Aye.
Maney,
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
and yes, Donnie.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. That is good. And thank you to Mariana for doing them. And director's report, Ryan, the ball's in your court.
Okay. Yeah, just since we're on the budget, and I know this is kind of a separate agenda item, but I want to kind of check in with you guys. Is there anything budgetarily that isn't just maintaining staffing hours and databases that we have already that we want to do for next year?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Okay,
Anybody
we
else?
will check in again about this in November, but I'm just gonna start putting together an initial budget, and it's a lot of that. We get our assessment from CW Mars on what the annual cost is gonna be, which, spoiler alert, it usually goes up a little bit, especially since now we're a community of over 10,000. So they're doing that on a sliding scale, if you remember, so the impact isn't nuts. But we also have to budget roughly a 4% increase for database vendors because they can go up to that high. Sometimes they go higher, sometimes they go lower. I always try to ask if they won't go up at all, but that doesn't always happen. And I don't think we have anything else that we want to do. My focus has obviously been the building, and we're going to have to ask for planning and design money at next year's town meeting. So really, to me, that is the focus and the ask that the library is kind of going to bring forward. As far as the line item budget, I'm not looking to add new staff next year. I'm not looking to add additional hours. I think we're finally at the staffing level, especially with the 3 new hires, as to where we need to be. So I know I'm kind of jumping a little bit to the FY25 budget, but there's still time to integrate requests. And sometimes I don't even ask you guys, I just put together initial budget, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I just wanted to put that in. I think we did have a discussion about kind of increasing programming a couple $100 each year. So that will probably also be put in there if everybody's amenable to that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. You're talking the March 24 town meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, that's coming up quickly.
Yes. So I believe I'm going to go to the Capital Committee to check in with them about the request for the planning and design. It was as a placeholder on the capital plan already. I did miss, Mr. Malinowski reminded me I missed filling out the capital item form that they want to do, but we're also going to be putting it in as a separate warrant article. So it'll have to get discussed separate. There's also 2 specific language pieces in the warrant article that need to be present to meet the MBLC requirements. So my aim, we are looking also, again, I'm gonna jump around. We're looking at doing the final forum as a virtual forum on the evening of November 2nd. So again, trustees are welcome to participate, just be low key about your official roles, right? Participate as residents, not as authority figures, but I will not be, I won't be present. We are going to record the virtual forum. We have to in order to take notes. So we decided we were going to do that. It's going to be moderated by the two previous moderators. So Liz Zulik and Mary Tinty are both going to moderate. They're going to co-moderate. And then we're hoping that we reach a wider audience. So we're really kind of putting information out about that now. Following that, in 2024, I will be doing some information sessions where people can come and ask me questions about the library. So those are going to be scheduled, I believe, starting in January. I could do one as early as December, but I figured just running into the holiday season, it might be better to look at a post-holiday start. I probably will be doing those once a month in the early side of the month. So the idea would be you can come in, you can literally just sit with me in the front reading room, and we're going to talk about the library for an hour. Questions that residents have, why are we looking at a bigger library, and really taking the survey data and kind of pulling from that. We're going to also put together a packet of the survey data that we can provide to the public. It's going to be available on the website. We're hoping to publicize it on the Maya Southborough blog if Beth would like to have the results up, and then also to potentially have some sort of version of that at the town meeting.
A couple of questions on the language of the warrant article that'll go past town council.
Yeah.
And then are you bringing it to the board here? Should we look at it, or does it not matter?
You can. Yeah, I think definitely we're going to try to get it very early in the process. But Capital has to vet it. I'm sure advisory is going to want to talk to us as well. So all of that.
Okay.
There'll be, as we go into the budget meetings, I think the focus is going to be on the planning and design.
Okay, fellow trustees, do we want to see it before it goes to the other boards and committees that are associated in town council, or
I think it would be a good idea. Yes.
Other thoughts? No?
I think it couldn't hurt to see it beforehand also.
Yeah, just so at least if someone asks us, we'll know what they're talking about.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to say about that is so that we don't end up doing the surveys and the information sessions with the same lovely and involved 100 people, are there any other sources that trustees can think of for getting the word out there? I know the townhouse is doing an every other week information letter that goes out. I'm just thinking it's time, if we're going to the March meeting, it's time to let everybody in town know about this months ahead of time.
Yeah, we did hand out bookmarks and really try to advertise the survey at Heritage Day.
Yeah.
So that was a bit, we actually ran out of the bookmarks and we had, I think, something like 200 of them. So that gives you an idea. Now, I was hoping there'd be a big survey response, but to be honest, we've maybe gotten 10 so far from Monday. So that's a little disappointing, but we're at 274 for responses, which is over half the halfway mark for what I was happy with. So I'd love it if we got up to 500, like I said, but at this point, I think 300 is more of a realistic expectation. The survey is going to be available up until about a week after the forum, the next virtual forum. So I will have final survey results for you at the next trustees meeting. That's
okay,
the goal.
and that's good. But I'm also thinking of the town meeting vote. And if trustees can think of any way to get the information out there so that people don't find out about this, 3 days before town meeting.
Yeah, I'll try to, engage the marketing machine that we
Yes.
have here too, to try to
Yes,
do that. If trustees would like to join me at the information sessions, that's a possibility as well.
Okay.
You don't feel obligated by any means, but it might not hurt, I'll say, to have a trustee or two at those meetings with me, because if we get a crowd, it might be good to kind of break up into one-on-one sessions if
Mhm.
possible. But I think the survey data is really going to inform some of those conversations. Like, we're finding a lot of people like the More Than Books collection. And part of the reason we asked that question in the survey, for example, is because we need space to provide those. One of the reasons we didn't go to cake pans as part of the At the Table grant was because we never figured out a way to store them and clean them. We just don't have that capability here. So it is something that people were excited about and interested in, and it is something long-term that we could do. We just need to figure out infrastructure for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's just one example, but there'll be I think the survey data are going to inform you. Over 100 people did respond with narrative comments, like something that I can tell you that's coming up somewhat over and over again is lighting in the parking lot, which was something we've heard before. So I think maybe that is something we need to look at too. So it is on a strategic planning level, kind of already helping us start the plan for next 5 years. So
That's good. All right,
Ryan, do you have any plans to dedicate some space on the website to the building project? That might be just a good way to, once the survey results are set, we could publish it there and just have information. So if people ask questions, at least there's kind of one place where we have all of the information on it.
Yes, so that is also a great segue, Kim, into saying that the new website did launch on October 1st. So if you haven't been to the library website, please visit it. We did discover, as with any sort of website upgrade, there were some growing pains, some missing content, which we're still actively working with our vendor to restore. I would say about 95% of everything is there now. We also have the ability to change the navigation ourselves on the website. We didn't previously have that. We had to email our vendor, and our vendor had to add it in a day or two.
Wow.
So that will give us a lot of flexibility, Kim, on creating a page. To be honest, there isn't a great existing area now that we would kind of plug in the results of the forums and the survey data. So we're really going to have to create a new area of the website anyway. So I think that was definitely on my radar. And then, a lot of it is, I may ask even your feedback, Kim, on the best way to structure that. Like, do we do it as a tab up top? Do we do it like in the About tab? There's a couple different ways we could go. So I think, like Marguerite said, it might end up having to be a tab, right, as you first go to the website, because we really don't want this to hit residents by surprise, that we're looking at the space and we want them to be able to access the information as readily as possible.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm happy to help.
Okay. So sorry, I think a lot of the facilities and DPW stuff is self-explanatory. Mariana and I did discuss today, maybe mobilizing some of the teen volunteers to help pack up the chess set, because our aim is always to start looking at packing that up post Heritage Day. We still have had great weather, so I'm not in a rush. I want help is what I'm going to say. I don't want to do that all by myself. So as soon as we coordinate getting some volunteer assistance, that'll get packed up. The thing I needed that is in that area that we need to kind of talk about specifically is there was a request from the town administrator about using parking spaces as part of the park construction. So
Was it
I'm-
park construction or was it the roof on the townhouse?
so
Or both of the above?
Marguerite, one informs the other. So they don't have parking at the townhouse right now because they're using a lot of the back area of the parking lot as staging for the restoration of the townhouse project, right? So because the townhouse has been actively under construction, as many of us know, if we've had to go up there and try to figure out which road is open which day, right? Because there's going to be additional construction vehicles that need to contribute to the park infrastructure, the Mark Purple asked if they could use he wanted my permission to use parking spaces from the library. So this is kind of I'm giving you maximum amounts. This might not be this many spaces for this long, but they may need up to 7 spaces up until April 2024.
I don't think we have any alternative other than to be a good civic partner on this, but I am concerned 7 parking spots where we all know that coming into the library, sometimes all the spots are taken. And I'm just wondering, notwithstanding the fact that I think we need to acquiesce on this, what's your sense? Is this going to be a real impediment? Are people going to be put off by the fact that we've got a lot of equipment in there?
I think on top of it, we're going through snow periods where we lose parking spaces anyway.
Right.
So we're going to lose more than just the 7. And
I
I
mean,
was
I
there
don't think
last
we
night.
can say
and it
no.
was-
Is that correct, Ryan?
Sorry, say that again, David.
I'm not sure we can say no. I think we have to say yes. But
To be honest, I don't think the town has any other option. So
Right.
it was kind of a question that they posed, but
Right.
I don't know what they're gonna do as an alternative. Like the construction vehicles are literally gonna have to leave and come back every
Yeah.
day from wherever their home base is. I will say I would like to, with your permission, with the board's permission, I'd like to kind of engage Mark on some dates that might be more problematic. I'm specifically thinking about the blood drive, the mobile blood drive that takes up a
Exactly.
significant
Good
amount of
example.
parking spaces.
good example.
So that part of the reason we do that in the library parking lot is because there isn't another area in town that really it would work. And then beyond that, I would just say Kim has some vacation week programs scheduled in December and in February. Those I think I'm a little concerned about as well, just in giving them a heads up to try to get the construction vehicles elsewhere for a couple hours, if that's possible. But my inclination was the same as yours, David. It is going to be a park, I think, long-term that the library could potentially benefit from if we utilize the outdoor
Right.
space there. And then it is kind of like being a good neighbor. Also, I don't know what the other
Exactly.
options for the town are, to be
Exactly.
honest.
So Ryan,
But
is it
what
just,
does this, I'm sorry, Kim, go ahead.
so this is just for parking the construction vehicles when they're not in use during the day? And I mean,
Yeah, or it might be overnight. I don't know what the situation is going to be like in the winter months specifically.
That's what I was
So-
wondering. Are they going to be, is this where they're going to dump everything over the weekends? You know, that kind of thing. So maybe we could ask them not to do some of the things that would be more problematic for us. I'm also worried about just with all the families and moms and kids coming through. Are these guys going to be coming in and out all day? I would like to know the structure of the thing, whether this is where they just put them over the weekend, or is this something where it's actively going in and out of the parking lot all the time?
a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question, Janet. I think maybe what I could circle back with Mark on is just that we would need to have ongoing conversations about how it's going to work operationally for the library. And again, I don't know that they'd be using all 7 spaces. I can tell you that on an average day at the end of the parking lot, not all of those spaces are being utilized. So I
Right.
think that might have been the why this was posed. I think Mark isn't always aware when the parking lot is busier. And also, just to circle back to the survey data, when we did ask members of the public if the library needs more parking spaces, there is a majority of people who have said that we do not. So I would just say
Do not?
members of the
Really?
public are telling us
I'm
that we
surprised.
have enough already. So yeah, I know that was interesting to me as well.
Hmm.
That's an interesting data point that we're getting. So, I mean, maybe, maybe this will kind of inform if some of our if we lose some of our parking because of a construction project, maybe members of the public will feel different
Yeah.
about our parking situation.
I think it'd be important to have a contact person on an ongoing basis too. I have a
Okay.
feeling that once you say yes, then we lose complete control and they're doing whatever they feel is easiest for them down there. And there's nobody to talk to about the problem if there is one. So
We're talking about the park construction.
Yeah,
I don't even think they've hired somebody to do that yet.
I think this is, I don't know if it was, I don't know where the request initially came from. It was, I got looped into a conversation between Mark and someone else. I don't know if it's the project manager or some sort of contractor. I don't know, Marguerite. I would just say, I'm happy to circle back with Mark at this point and just say, we need to have some sort of ongoing dialogue about what the issues might be.
Check what the time is, because I don't think they're gonna do a lot in the dead of winter.
I also don't think they're gonna need all 7 spaces.
No, I
I
don't think
think this is more for the
depends on the
spring.
size of the equipment they're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
again, I don't, also,
that
they
would be
may
good
be
to
able
know.
to park some of the stuff on the site. I just know that once the park is built up, I think that is when they're gonna really need the parking space. This is just good to know too, because if there's any ever future construction at the park, where are these people gonna go? They're gonna have to go to our parking lot.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I mean, have they explored other places? Like, is there some parking on the St. Mark's property or even using like the community house? Like, I mean, Janet brings up good points about like, with families coming in and out, whether the construction equipment there would be safe. And I mean, it's true that the library parking lot is not utilized 100% all of the time. But I can say, like, having had small kids, when you're trying to get to a very popular program and there's no parking, and then you have to loop back and try and park at the townhouse and then walk down with your small children, it does get really difficult at certain times. So I think maybe what you're suggesting as far as having an ongoing conversation so that we can be a good neighbor and, help out when, our parking lot's not being utilized as much. But I do think there will be times where, taking almost 20% of our parking spaces just isn't going to be a smart move for our patrons.
And also,
Also
like you
gonna be
said,
the
the
easy
time
spot for
period,
them to dump a lot of stuff.
well, and I was gonna say the time period is also during, well, besides the summer, the highest 2 events, probably the February break and April break.
okay,
So-
well, let me suggest something. They haven't hired a company to do this yet. I don't know, one, how long that company will say it will take them, and two, what months of the year they want to do. They're planting trees. I don't think you can do that when the ground is frozen. So it may not be for a while, but I think it would be good, Ryan, if you could find out, or I can find out from Mark, approximately when and approximately for how long.
Yeah. I think you could certainly convey the fact that we were pretty concerned.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I think echoing Kim's concerns about
Right.
safety, because there's so many children that come in and out, is an important factor for them to, and that I think that's a good way to broach an ongoing dialogue that would need to occur between us and whoever's utilizing the spaces. So, again, I won't be a pain. I just need to be able to, whether that be talking to Mark or talking to whoever is in charge on site. So,
Right, so find out what months, how long it's going to take, and is it going to be safe? And PS, can they possibly park on the park site itself if they need to?
And
Yeah,
and is
that's
it
through April.
weekends? Is it overnight? Is it,
Yeah, yeah.
I believe it would be overnight. I think that's why they're asking.
And if that's the case, that minimizes the effect on library access, I guess. But yeah, I think your idea of having an access person to at least be involved in an ongoing conversation, if necessary, is important, because
Yeah.
we want to be a good corporate neighbor, but we also don't want to enfeeble people trying to access a library.
And I would say, like, I know our contractors sometimes stopped at 3 or 4 in the afternoon with there's 3 nights of the week through the summer that the library's
Right.
open till 9 o'clock. So while we would assume there wouldn't be access issues, there might be. Like the vehicles will be here for half the day the library's open, really. So
Yeah. But
yeah.
again, remember that the company who does this is gonna want to get in, get it done, and get out as fast as they can.
Yeah.
They also might want to park their excess vehicles for 7 weeks when they're not using them.
Oh my God! Well, it's seven.
That's
If
the
they're
kind
not,
of
if
thing
they're
I
not
worry
using
about.
that,
with
well,
them. It's like,
that's
oh, we got
another
a spot to cook
conversation.
this truck. We don't need it anywhere else for 3 weeks. Let's put it there.
Well, they haven't dealt with the library board of trustees yet, obviously.
No, but the library board of trustees has dealt with construction vehicles. Yeah.
Anyway, so okay, so let's find out when, how long, and number and type of vehicles. There's not going to be a heavy amount of earth moving. It's going to be mostly laying down stones and putting in trees. So
The workers' cars, it's all this stuff. I
Yep,
mean, if
that
we give them
stuff
7
too.
spaces, they're gonna take 7
I
spaces.
think it's really the March and April that those are the specific months,
They're aiming
Marguerite.
at.
But I don't know if
Right.
it's going to be earlier than that. I think like you said, the ground needs to not be frozen. So
Yeah.
that really starts in March. We know, I know that from our own construction woes from years ago. So
Yes, if we put up with a facade restoration and live to tell the tale, I think we can.
That was during COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
when we didn't have kids actively coming here.
But that was a lot of vehicles.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay,
Okay,
so
so yeah.
more information on that would be great. All right. Other things in the director's report we need to know.
So am I telling him yes, but
Telling them,
That's
yes,
easy.
of course, we're
Okay.
so pleased to help out. However, we have the following 3
Not
concerns.
weekends, not overnights, not.
Right. We have a few stipulations,
Yeah.
but we're really going to help. Okay.
okay, I also noted that the financial report was submitted. This is similar to Eris. I can send it to all of you. It's just data on like how much we spend, how much the state, right, in the state bucket like counts as materials. So like we have our educational supply budget and the line item budget, but also databases count as materials. Also up to 10% of anything spent on technology can count as materials. So it's like stuff like that, right? So there's also a breakdown of what the friends do. That always, I have to sit with Prudence and do that every year. So if they spend money on museum passes or any sort of book requests, that gets counted on the financial report as well. So that has been submitted. Marguerite signed it. If you guys want a copy, let me know because I have those handy.
And thank you for doing that. Obviously, tremendously fun task.
Yeah, I will say with Eris, Mariana helped me a lot this past year with this is really kind of my thing. So it's a 4-page document, but the amount of data and work that has to go into it, because we have to break down the amount we spend on books, print books, electronic books, multimedia, but we break it down by DVD and CD. So it's like really fun. Like we've refined over the years how we track this data so that it's a lot easier. And I will say we're in a rhythm right now where when I work with the staff on getting all of these final numbers, it happens very quickly. And then John Parent, Brian Ballantine, Carla McAuliffe, all of those people on the town side do help me with things like interest that some of the supplemental accounts get. So there's a lot of data that goes there. So also I noted some grants that were, I know I keep saying that we're not applying for grants, but just we did submit the final stuff for the LSTA grant. So we're gonna hear back from our consultant to make sure that everything looks good and the Ts were crossed and the Is were dotted. Mariana was looking at a new teen mental health grant. So we're possibly gonna collaborate with Youth and Family on that if they would like to jump in with us. It is a very competitive grant, so we don't know if Mariana is going to get it, but I've offered to help review and do anything she'd like before we submit. And then Kim and I did a couple Cultural Arts Council grants. I think the grand total of all 3 grants was $995. So we're not really breaking the bank. I think they got something like 5 or 6 grand this year. So we are asking for a chunk ourselves. That's it, I think, from the director's report, unless you guys have any questions. The website I talked a lot about, but it was a big deal. It's taken up, I think last Thursday, I came in at 10, I worked on the website until I left at 6, and I didn't take a lunch break that day because I was so involved. So I've
That's
learned to eat
amazing.
if you're gonna edit the website. So.
Okay, the budget. We sort of
Yeah.
went over that. Any other
Yeah.
thoughts?
If anybody has any feedback about the budget that they think of later, other than the additional money for programs, let me know. But I'm gonna start working on a preliminary budget soon.
I think they're gonna do the same thing they did last year, which is have budget day. Which is that marathon that goes from most of the departments. I don't think all the departments are gonna have to show up for that this year, but I think it's gonna be a similar thing. And I thought it was a very efficient way to get the budgets done rather than 1%, 3%, 4%. No, go back, do 3.5%, which was very tiring. So I think it may be a better budget prep than previously, I hope.
I'm assuming we're gonna have to go to talk about the 150,000 for the planning and design. So I would just plan on us being there. If they don't want to talk to us as part of the line item budget, I think these groups are going to want to talk to us about that. I think it makes sense to go as a group again, as we have in previous years. If anything, because as Marguerite said, that does help to further get the word out about what we're planning so that residents who do pay attention to these meetings are more informed. So I think that's one way to help advertise what we're planning on doing, is if we talk to as many groups as possible about what the plan is, then we're really helping to spread the word more and more.
Do we have a date for that yet, Marguerite?
No,
Not that I know of.
no, I don't think it's been planned. And we also need the personnel board to decide on what the salary increase is going to be this year, if any. Hopefully, fingers crossed, as an employee, I hope there's a.
It's sorry, Ryan, it's gonna be in January. It's gonna be a Saturday in January 2024, and the day is not, the particular Saturday is not chosen. The warrant closes on February 6th. So we need to get everything done by February 3rd, let's say. Okay.
I mean, it closes for the first time on February 6th.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it says it here, it goes to the printer on February 23rd.
Okay.
So,
So that's the real date.
yeah. You've been through this before, Janet. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Right, you know. Okay, anyway, so let's just say the 1st of January, we sort of want to have a general idea of what we want the warrant, the planning and design warrant to say. Does that
Yeah,
sound
I
good?
mean, I'm gonna get feedback from people who have done this before too, including our town officials, because I'm not really gonna write it on my own. It's going to be, I'll give them the feedback that the MBLC people have had, but you will get a very early draft of what that is gonna say so that you can review it in a meeting.
Can we look at what other towns have written in their warrant articles? and use
You
pirate some of
can.
their
It
language?
just, because the construction program is slightly revised this year, it just may not be, I can send you what Andrea sent me from MBLC on
Okay.
what the warrant article needs to say. It seems like there's a lot of interest in this, so what I'll do is I'll forward you guys that information. So that
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm making it sound like more interesting than it is. I don't think you guys are gonna read this and be like, oh my God, I never thought it would say that. Like, these are all things that are pretty,
But we want to make sure that everything is in there that we need.
Yeah.
So that I mean, I have great confidence in the board's ability to make sure that it has what it needs by checking what other warrant articles have said. We all know the language in warrant articles, witness the preservation restriction situation is very major. So,
sorry, I'm pulling it up now because I feel like we've
we've already started discussing it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So it says that there need to be 2 votes taken as part of this. They can be part of the same warrant article. So I'm sorry, the 2 conditions are 2 things that need to have votes, okay? So
By
that
the town?
by the town,
Town,
correct,
okay.
Shannon. So it says, they're advising it be a separate warrant article, so not go in with the combined capital, right? And then, it says there are 2 votes that can be combined. One is that the municipality can, quote, apply for, accept, and expend state grant funds. That exact phrasing must be used. 2, that the municipality appropriates $150,000 for the planning and design phase contingent upon receipt of a grant award.
Okay.
Okay, so both the select board and advisory will have to hash this over to see whether they support it or not. So we must be armed to answer any questions either group has for us.
Well, I would say there are still a majority of select board members who are sitting who did support the letter of intent. So, and also, I don't think this will be a surprise to anybody who's been on advisory for a few years. But again, there's new members of the select board, there's new members of advisory, there's even newer members of capital since we've been there as well. So I'm glad, because I think it's going to help the discussions, but there will be a little bit of an education piece, but this is not going to be, I think, shocking to anybody. And then many of the people in these groups are aware that we've been doing a building survey. So again, I don't think that'll be there, but those, just to demystify it, that is what we need to do. They need to vote on those 2 separate pieces, but it can be combined in the same warrant article, which is also why it shouldn't go in a multi-capital request, if that makes
Now,
sense.
this is going to be something new for town meeting, because I don't think we've done a request for planning and design for a library for many decades, right? So it's
We
going
haven't
to,
for library, but we certainly did it 5 or 6 times for the
Yes.
safety building.
yes,
through the years.
exactly. But the fact that it's got 2 parts to it, it's
Hmm.
good to know that.
Well, we did fund, sorry, I know I'm prolonging this discussion, but when we went for the CPA article money, if you recall, we actually put in a CPA article in 2017 that was for a feasibility study,
Yeah.
right? To look at the library. That was when we met Mary, right? And we hired an OPM, and then we had SSV do an assessment of the facility. And if you remember, the assessment we were going to do was going to be like fixing stonework outside. It was a very small project when it started. Then we had people come and they did a test cut of the roof. And that's when things went nuts. That's when suddenly we're talking about over $1 million to restore systemic problems on the historical facade, right? Because no one had looked at the building in a long time and it became a much bigger project. So, you know, I don't want to, I don't think it's going to horrify anybody. Some of the feasibility work that was done as part of CPA can also be applied to this. But I would say the assessment work that we're going to do is a lot more in-depth if we're looking at an expansion. And then I think there's some things we want to look at systemically too, like if we can do a different entryway, right? Like, so there's a couple things to hit.
The other part is, I'm still remembering there is one clause in the CPA warrant article for the restoration that ended up being very much of a problem. And I want to make sure that we don't have just a piece of language in there that ends up being a big problem down the road.
You know what it was? Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
What was it, please?
It had to do with putting a preservation restriction on the facade, and at no point did it stipulate who was supposed to put that on there.
Oh,
It
okay.
said it will be put on. So
Hmm.
as a result, it got very complex.
I think as long as we have council review the warrant article and
Yeah.
listen to the recommendations from council, I don't
Yeah.
think we're going to run into that same issue.
Okay, but I think I'm a little bit, what's the word I want?
Wary?
Leery. Yes, yes, and Janet should know better than anyone else in the Zoom meeting that language.
It's in my best interest for the warrant article to be clear, because I don't want to be on stage more than I have to be. For that particular article, I was there for an hour on the stage. So I might have
Dramatic.
to be again. I might
You
have
did
to be
very
again,
brilliantly, I have
but
to
I
say.
would
You
prefer it wasn't the same under the same circumstances. So we'll get it right, Marguerite. That's the aim.
Good, Hugh. Okay, thank you. And now I'm okay on that now. Shall we move on to permission to use library grounds for community groups? Item number 5.
Yeah, so there was a request from the scouts to do scouting for food on the grounds. I did respond to the person who was interested. They wanted to put like a sandwich board on the library grounds. We did talk about this quite a while ago. We decided not to let outside community groups use the library grounds. We're preferring to use the library to advertise library programs. Again, because we get constant feedback that people don't know when our programs are, they don't know what's happening at the library. So we're trying to do that. We did make an exception. We've made a couple exceptions over the years when people asked. One was for the summer concert series. Kim and I did revisit this in a discussion, Kim Ivers and I, and we did think that if it's another town department, that it would make sense for us to make an exception. This particular scout situation, we did offer to advertise on social media and inside the library, which is what we ask groups to do. So again, I just wanted to revisit this discussion with you. I think it's worth checking in. We don't have it as a policy. I would not advise that we need that at this point. We are getting far less requests. I think people generally do check in with me and ask. And then when we offer to do what I said, advertise on social media, which actually I think reaches a wider net, to be honest, and advertise inside with a flyer, people generally accept that.
I would say, Ryan, that I'm comfortable letting you decide on a case-by-case basis as these issues come up. I don't know that it needs to go to the trustees, but I trust your good judgment as to what is appropriate and what is not.
Yep.
Okay, we can leave it there if,
All right.
if no one else. I just, again, I think it was worth noting there wasn't time from this request to then check in with the board by the next meeting. It already happened. So that's one of the things that's coming up is people are asking me and there's maybe like 2 weeks to advertise. So when that's the case, the answer is kind of no by default.
We'd like
Yeah.
to help, but it's probably gonna get too complicated down the road.
I am getting the name of the person at St. Mark's that they can ask. I did actually check in with our friends, the Vacruses, who did point me in the right direction.
Okay.
I think the gentleman's name is Bob. So we can, I can always send them to ask if the St. Mark's intersection can be used, which some people are doing now.
Yeah, they're very generous with their corner.
Yeah.
St. Mark's, yeah.
I think there's a lot more space there to advertise. I think what David said is kind of right, Ryan, to like leave it at your discretion. I think that because we have mostly used it for library promotions, like when we do open it for other things, it has a bigger impact. And like we did with rec, I feel like that helped. And if we can help the town for the greater good, I guess, for me, the only plug for the Scouting for Food is that it greatly benefits the food pantry. So, but again, I think we should leave the discretion to you, and it doesn't necessarily need to come back to us, since the timing of the meetings is never super great.
Yeah, the reason why I'm bringing it up, and I'm sorry to spend time in this meeting talking about it, but it's because this was a hard one to say no to.
Yeah.
And I think in the future, I might, if it's up to me, that might be we'll let you this time, potentially, if it's like for a week or so. So,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Shall we move on to report of site visit to the new Marlborough Public Library? I went, but I'm gonna let either David or Ryan pick up on that one, if that's okay with you
I'm
guys.
gonna let David talk because
David,
I
we're gonna hear
could use a
from you.
break.
Well,
How many of the trustees have seen the new Marlborough Library?
Where is it?
Ooh, it's right in the
Where the
middle
old
of
one
town,
is.
Where the
It's
old
where
one.
Where the old one was. Oh, okay, right behind.
Well, you had said you were going to set up a tour for the trustees, so I was waiting.
Yes,
Oh,
I still am. I just haven't, they've been a little
that's going to
inundated.
happen. That's going to happen.
They've been inundated with requests, so probably in the next couple weeks, depending on when, I'll check in with you guys about availability. It'll
find out when
probably
a good
be,
time is for
yeah,
Amy. Yeah, definitely. Well, Ryan and David and I sort of winged over at the last minute, and just for the ribbon cutting, David, what did you think? What can you?
Well, I was very impressed. I didn't know what to expect, but the quality of workmanship there was, I thought, to the extent that as a layman I could understand it, was very impressive. And I think that I think the town got a good and wonderful return for the multiple millions of dollars that were spent there. So I came away impressed. Now it's hard to describe or compare, I should say, Southborough and Marlborough, particularly since we have different kinds of town government. And so they have a mayor and a city council, and we don't. So they were able to march this through the town budget in a way that we cannot do. But anyway, the long and short of it is that if you were to go over there, you would be very impressed to see with what they did, not only in terms of reconfiguring the existing facility, but also the build out, which is to the rear of the building. And I was very impressed. I think I speak for Ryan and Marguerite also. They did a hell of a job.
it's a lot bigger.
Mhm.
They ended up taking up some surrounding residential properties to
Right.
build it. I mean, I'm always saying I had been to the older one multiple times, and it feels like 3 times as big. I don't know if square footage wise, it actually is that much, but it definitely feels like, and it's a city, right? Marlborough is something we forget is
Right.
so. It feels like a library that's reflective of a city, I would say now too.
Yes.
So are there things Marlborough did that we would definitely look at? Yes. Do we have to go as big square footage as them in order to meet all our user needs? I don't think so. I think we could add square footage and we could get a lot of what we are looking to add. And have more space for books and have, you know, potentially a local history room. But it is worth seeing. It's worth seeing how they arrange their meeting rooms and the study spaces. It's similar to some of what they did in Hopkinton. So it gives you an idea of sort of the trend, I would say, of what libraries are adding and the type of space that they're putting in. So I thought it was very valuable. The director over there, Sarah, gave Marguerite, David, and I a fair amount of her time on what I was sure was a very, very busy day. The other thing I'll note is we didn't get to see their local history room because it's actually not done yet. And then they're still doing some restorative work on their historical entrance, right? Which we actually already got a leg up on. So, you know, it's still somewhat under construction when you go over there. So at least it's open for business and you can see a lot of the new interior. So David and Marguerite and I asked about seeing some of the internal staff spaces, which were not part of that that day. So that is something, hopefully, when we schedule a tour, we'll be able to see kind of the nooks and crannies inside.
Yeah, it was pretty.
A critical omission, nobody's fault, was the staff facilities, which are in I guess a sub basement, you might say. And so that either they weren't ready to show us, or it was, well, anyway, we didn't see that. But the point is that they have an area which is dedicated to some of the things that we've talked about in terms of improving staff support. You know, a place to have your lunch, a place to hang your hat and your coat, and a place to just
Take a nap
chill out.
if you felt like it, right? Yeah, yeah.
So we didn't see that, but it's there, and I hopefully when we get the tour, we'll get to see that and maybe learn a few things about how we can take better care of our staff when we do a project.
It was built on a hill, as if you recall, the older one is still in that same space. And I will say, I'll point this out, but when you're in their community room space, there is like a stairwell that kind of descends down, and then they have this open area outside the community room where they can do outdoor programs. But you can tell it's me because the only thing I could think of is water could literally flood down there, and they would have a pool like that was. So I'll show you guys where the Marlboro pool could be, but I've been assured that they've done proper drainage and water remediation.
We would hope, yes.
The thing that stayed in my mind was, one, they have two children's rooms, one for children's room and the other one for a story hour, and they're very large. And then the other thing was that the shelf space was so lavish, and the amount of it was that a third of it was still empty, waiting for new books.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
just don't have to.
They have a program room for children where specific programs can be. And that's something Kim and I have talked about. I will say in the survey, more space for children is coming across as the #1 request. So that looking at that space in particular, I think is kind of crucial for our purposes.
You know what the square footage is of the completed library?
I can get that for you, Janet. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It's large though. It's pretty.
Yeah, I don't know what the population of Marlboro is either. So
I think it's 30,000 and something.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's
And
about
it's
3
important
times
to note
bigger.
that they have the option, which we don't have. They have the option through their funding of purchasing, I think it was 5 or 6 residents behind the library, which were then demolished and people were relocated. And so they were able to move to the rear in the space where these homes were, and create not only space for the expansion of the library, but for a considerable amount of additional parking. So those advantages we do not enjoy, but they made good use of it, and apparently from a standpoint of community relations, shall we say, the fact that they had to purchase homes and relocate people was an important ingredient in the overall project.
So I can answer the questions. As of the 2020 census, Marlborough had a population of 41,793 people,
Bigger.
which I would assume has gone up. And I am incorrect in that they did not add a third of the space, a 2/3 space. I knew I wasn't. Their existing footprint was 22,300 square feet. The new library went up to 38,306 square feet. I will say that Marlborough it was like, I think it was at least 2 floors. Previously, it might have been 3, and they did allocate more of their previous library to staff space than we do here. So that already kind of gives you an idea of why it didn't feel as big to me. It was also, I would say, a lot of the library was more segmented. It's a lot like our lower floor when you first walk in, like that, we have the smaller teen room, the eating room, and even children's is somewhat compact. So it was Marlborough was set up very much like that previously. And it does not feel that way now. A lot of the spaces feel very open. And
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of
Marguerite said,
a lot of window, a
Yeah,
lot
a
of
lot of
floor to
window.
ceiling window, and it's very light inside. And I think that makes it feel bigger than it maybe even is, but it was good.
And I think their total project was around 23.7 million, Janet, and they got over 10.17 of that as part of the state funding. I'm fairly certain I'm right about all that,
Okay.
but I'm doing this on the fly.
Anyway, I'd like to find out who their architect was.
It's very nicely done.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. So when we finish our hymn to the beauty of Marlborough's renovation and expansion, which is hard to leave because it really is an impressive building, I gotta say. The community, Ryan, what do you want to do? The Mass Public Library Construction Program, or have we sort of
Yeah,
done that?
I think we
Covered that.
covered that because that was
Yeah.
really the update on the forums and then talking about the information sessions.
All
So
right.
I jumped ahead a little bit in the director's report only
Yeah.
because they were interrelated.
Yeah.
So I think we're all set on that. We
Yeah.
even went over the stuff that Andrea said we needed to do the votes on. Those are the big updates. I need to really start working on the building plan and then ultimately the grant that we need to put in. So that work is really going to start, I would say, in the next couple months.
Well, let us know what we can help with because that's huge. All right. Whatever we can do. So, how about the Community Center Exploration Committee report?
So I'm gonna kick it off to Janet in a few minutes, but I will say Janet and I sat through the presentation from the DRA architects at the potential reuses of the Finn space. Some of you I know wanted printouts of that so that you guys got the people who requested it got the printed versions. I did send it to the rest of the board electronically, right? So you guys saw those. So I don't know if anybody wanted to provide feedback to Janet and I. There is a meeting again that we're scheduled. I believe the DRA people are going to be at that meeting. Janet, am I right?
I don't think they said. It would
Okay.
make sense because this is going to be, I think they've met with each group individually and now they're going to meet with everyone together. Or maybe.
Yeah, we had a joint meeting too, where they remember we only had about 10 minutes at the end to ask questions after the presentation.
Oh, that's right.
On the
was quick.
multi-reuses. So they met with Janet and I. We gave them some feedback about some of the things that we were concerned about. Parking, I would say, was probably the biggest, right, item. Is that fair to say?
Access,
Yeah.
well, we had a lot of questions, which they clarified.
Yeah. So then they brought back, we gave them some additional feedback on the potential reuses. It was noted because they're aware of the work that we're doing with the MBLC construction grant. So there were 3 options, I think, that were proposed, and the library wasn't actually part of the second option in case we do focus on renovating the existing facility. So I will say, out of all the options, I kind of liked option 1 because it looked at, I thought that would be the best way to integrate the children's space there. The other thing that we noted was that if everything goes right and we renovate our existing facility, right, we still may need a temporary space at one point. So even though we're telling them we might not be long-term residents of Finn, there may be an opportunity for us to be a short-term resident if they would allow for that. So that's kind of another thing I think Janet and I plan on engaging with them. I will say, going back to our survey, right, which again, I'm kind of spoiling the lead because you guys won't see it till next month, but staying at our present site is somewhat important to people. It is in the lead. So that I will say that is some initial feedback we're getting. Whether or not we need more space is more neck and neck with our responses, but people are also requesting additional things. So it does seem like people like the idea of the library expanding. But I will say, sitting on our existing site and focusing here may be something that we want to be the focus if we're taking in the public input.
If the library moves for a renovation and expansion on the same site, would we be out of that building for about a year? Or how long do you think?
Or it depends on what we're doing. So I do think, because we have to maintain the facade, and we would look at trying to maintain like some of the interior spaces as well. This is a tough question without doing the planning and design, Marguerite, because also the one thing that's right behind the children's room is a larger teen space. So the youth services areas are important to people. So the teen space sits in a historic part of the building. It's in the front, like if you're facing the building, the front right lower quadrant.
Right.
So would we build a whole new teen space as part of the project and then relocate it? That's a question that we'd have to answer. So,
but I mean, if the whole of library operations had to move out of the building, would it be for a year?
It depends on what I'm saying it depends on what we build and then where the collections would sit. It could be, it's varied from different places.
Yeah.
So Marlborough was out for about a year. Hopkinton, I think, was a little bit longer.
I think there were 2.
Yeah.
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 And then Grafton, I think, was also longer than Marlborough was, if I recall. So it depends again on what the project is. It depends on how quickly things are happening with the contractors.
I just remember even with the facade restoration and the roof rebuilding, it was really difficult to work in the building while they were doing the roof.
I can already guarantee you that if we're adding space, or we're doing things like if it's any of the potential big things, like a potential 3rd floor, a potential relocation of septic or parking anywhere on the property, we're looking at, we can't work here. We can't operate a library during those projects.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to do like an a la carte. I don't want to like close for a week, try to open for a week. It's important to maintain the money we get back from the state as part of the state aid program, that we maintain open hours of service. So the MBLC will provide some advice as we're doing this and kind of be a sounding board for me, but we'll need to find another place to operate a library during that time. And whether that be a year, whether it be slightly shorter or slightly longer, I can't say until we get started. I will say, since we're not adding as much space as Marlboro, we're not looking at going into potential residential properties. I think that'll be a factor. It might not be as long as what I can say, but that's a very, very preliminary comment to make, Marguerite. So I don't even want you to hold me to that.
All right, just something to think about. Okay, anything else we need to know about the Community Center Exploration Committee report? No, good. All right,
Yeah,
so
did I leave anything out, Janet?
No, I think it's going to be hard for them to keep both of those options open for us. Either are moving there permanently or are using it for a while. Because one of the things that I really liked about the presentation it wasn't apparent at first, is that they said that each entrance would have its own unique thing to it. The senior center would have a welcoming kind of room that they find very important. That our thing would look like our entrance. So none of it would look like the back entrance or the side entrance. They would all have entrances that let people know they were entering a specific thing. Now, to put the money into doing that for a particular area, when you're only using it only for a year, seems problematic. But I think, on the other hand, we wouldn't put that much energy into making it look like its own entity if we're only using it for a year. So it's a lot to juggle. It's going to get more and more complicated, I think.
yeah. Well, that's interesting. Thank you for that data. It's good to know. The last item we have before public comment is update of library job descriptions. And we all got 6, right?
Yeah, so I sent those to you. There is additional jobs we need to do beyond that as well. So that was not with any edits. That's the new format that the descriptions are going in. I'm going to take, I think, another crack at the supervisor description and try to get that one for the next meeting so that we can start approving these. I know the personnel board was looking at doing all of these all at once pretty quickly. I am going to go to the personnel board and just explain to them, our department has the most of these to do. You as a board need to approve them before they approve them. I've communicated this to the chair. He understands where we're at with this. We're going to start going through them pretty quickly. I can start to do an initial pass at all of them, but again, I think it depends on how much time and energy we want to spend on these. I don't think we need to be in a rush. I would like to get this right, is really what my aim is. They also wanted us to get employee feedback, but also get it done in a month. So I don't understand how those two things go together. Adding more people into the mix is going to make this take longer, actually. So, just to integrate feedback that you get from other parties. But I do think, since this is changing the description somewhat, at least format wise, that we really should be checking in with the employees about it so that they're aware and that they can provide feedback if applicable.
Agreed. And job descriptions are so works in progress always. I mean, you have it down in October, and by February, the job description is slightly changed. I think this format looks good. I think you did a great job. I think they look like they're 5/8 or 6/8 of the way there.
This is from Melanie Otsuka. It's not from me. So I just want to note that. I think I may do passes at the ones that Melanie didn't get to. She was trying to get me what Melanie had to do all of them for the whole town.
I know, I was with her this afternoon.
There's quite a number of
job
them.
descriptions. Yeah, it was the only editorial thing I'll do. If you see library technician on the first page of library technician where it says essential functions, I think, to be consistent, every single job description is going to be just using the verb with the understood employee as the subject. Assists and updates and intakes and creates and assists and checks and covers and makes to make the verb third person singular as opposed to assist or update or create. So that
I'm happy to sit down with you, Marguerite.
that's the
go
only
over
thing
the-
I found
yeah.
in all
Yeah.
of these pages that I would change. I think they're
Yeah.
great. So-
I'm happy to go over the grammar, but again, I think if we do have employees give input on this, there
Mhm.
may be some additional things that need to
Yep,
go in.
right.
So I will say, you know, Jane is not with us, but Jane was always a big fan of the 1-page descriptions that is not these. So,
The 1-page description is no longer with us, apparently.
so,
Well, I think there's gonna be a lot of boilerplate.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, also, just the heading.
Yeah.
I know, it's like half a page, right? So
Yeah,
it's at least a third of
exactly.
it, so
Yeah.
it's,
We
yeah.
could get them onto one if we just move that, but yeah.
No, and so the 3 pieces of boilerplate that are going on every job description in town are under essential functions, that that sort of disclaimer in italics that says this is a lot of what you'll be doing, but not all of it. And then there's another piece of boilerplate that's basically Americans with Disabilities under physical requirements, that every job description in town, as I understand it, is going to say the physical demands described here are representative, and the next sentence, reasonable accommodations may be made to enable individuals with disabilities to perform the essential functions. That's going to be in every one. And then the last thing that's going to be in every one, which basically, if you add all these up, comes out to one entire page. The above statements are intended to describe the general nature and level. Again, it's a disclaimer, and it's 3 paragraphs of disclaimer. So those 3 italicized disclaimer things are going to be in every single job description. So just
Makes
saying, that's kind of just to cover those bases. So and there it is, and employees should look and see what has been left out. So
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't seen a lot that I think needs to be changed in these reformatted versions as well, Marguerite. I haven't gone through them as in-depthly as I would like at this point, because I got them pretty recently, but I would just say this might not take as long as we think. I think a couple of them need to be, like I said, we need to create a couple more, but we have some existing descriptions already to pull from. So maybe we'll be able to do a couple of these at a time as a result of the reformat. But again,
having the format, it means that every job description doesn't have to reinvent the wheel.
yeah.
So
Just make it easier.
It's a lot easier. Yes, you just plug in certain sentences for each one. So let's hope that I mean, I remember the job descriptions before were just really, it was the Wild West.
Yeah.
They were so different from each other.
I will mention that I do have to get on a personnel board agenda in the future to talk about making sure that the library associate job gets re-added to the SAP list of employees.
Yeah.
And then I also want to talk about adding the library technician job to the area that talks about not evaluating employees, that the library pages and the recreational seasonal workers are currently in that boat. I would just say the library technicians and library pages are now graded the same and paid the same. So I'd like to kind of broach whether or not those employees have to be evaluated, because I have 2 of them and both of them are confused as to why they get an annual evaluation. They do the same thing every time they come in, which is very similar to the pages, right? But you know, the job still is different because it's more long-term. That was like kind of why we pitched it in the first place. So again, just having those discussions. I'm sure, you know, I'm saying that the library job descriptions are going to take longer because we have so many jobs, and I know that we've gotten feedback from personnel before that the library has too many positions, but we do have the biggest SAP staff. So I will say that. And we did go through, still actively on payroll, including me. We have 25 employees, including the kids that come back from college break. So we're the biggest department. So that's part of the reason
huge.
why this takes the most time.
And well staffed, I must say.
And at least in a
Well
week,
done.
we have 20 employees here, so that's,
That's
you
a
know,
lot.
I have a lot to do.
Yes, you do, but hopefully this tight format should make life a lot easier, and let us know what the outcome from personnel is on that.
I'll invite members of the board to attend with me if you
Alright.
guys are free. They're usually on a Wednesday morning. So I'll let you guys know when I get on the agenda, and then don't feel obligated, but you can attend with me if you want.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
18th, and I think it's early in the morning. Well, it's early in the morning to me. What is it,
Well,
8 o'clock?
I'm not on that agenda, Marguerite, so it won't be at that meeting. I
Yeah, I
can tell you
know.
that. Yeah.
Good. All right. So other comments I would like to make at this point. I don't think there's anyone from the public that's attending.
That's
Any-
correct.
Any other business? Our beloved Kim is going to be not rerunning, she tells us. So I think that's something we should discuss in our next meeting, because it's not on the agenda for today. What do you think?
That's not good news.
Yeah.
Gonna
No,
miss you, Kim.
yeah, I
Thank you.
know.
Sorry.
You've been wonderful, but don't feel guilty. We'll be okay. No,
He just doesn't love us anymore.
yes,
Oh.
we can take rejection. That's okay.
I
I
still
mean,
love you guys.
I think it's,
in the past, though, I don't think that's been an agenda item, Marguerite. I think we're just
What?
gonna have to post that there's gonna be a pending vacancy. It's not until the election in May.
all right. So
We
just
just-
saying, everybody should be aware, if you weren't, that this is gonna be happening. There'll be a change in our board.
So Kim, you were with us until May, is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. How long have
Perfect.
you been
Okay,
on the
good.
board, Kim?
So this is my 6th year, so second term, 2 terms.
Well, thank you.
And it's been wonderful. Yeah, I mean,
I think what's happening is like me, I think we don't want to lose Kim. I think it's a big loss to the library, but I know that we'll still see Kim too, but it's just, people probably shouldn't be on boards and committees forever. So I think it's understandable. I think it's a great opportunity for somebody new to get involved with the library at a very exciting time. If you
Absolutely.
Potentially.
And I will still be around to help with projects and things and support you guys. Just my job situation has changed over the last month or so. So kind of time to change with that.
yes, definitely. I think-
Please understand, Kim, that we understand. We
Thank
do
you.
understand. We really do.
All right.
We just
so-
have such a great board now. that
I
think
know,
it's,
I know.
Me too.
causing some anxiety, right?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, I'm happy for you, because I know things are opening out and with work in a really good way for you. So that's really nice. October 12th is the second Thursday. So for a November meeting date, are we looking at October 9th, 6:30 p.m.? That's
November.
Did I say November 9th?
It's,
Yeah.
well, we're in October, so it would be
So
November.
then, so November 9th will be the second the second Thursday in November. Is that okay for
Well, so
everybody?
we used to meet back when we did nights, we met on the third week.
Mhm.
Because I'll tell you what happens is that typically the friends meet on the second Wednesday of the month. That's when
Mhm.
their meetings are scheduled.
All
I
right.
love you guys, but this was a rough week. And then I had the book sale. I then immediately had a friends meeting. And then had a trustees meeting right after that. And then I work Tuesday evenings. So I did a hat trick. That's my
Oh my
third night at the library, which is fine. I mean, I'll do it on the 9th. We could do the 16th,
No.
but I'm a little
Are we
worried
gonna-
about the potential proximity to Thanksgiving. We're a week ahead of that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if people are traveling.
So are we moving are we definitely moving to Thursday evening permanently, or at least for the foreseeable future?
I think the idea was through May,
Mhm.
right? Until there's a new board member.
Okay.
And then we can reevaluate the meeting schedule
Okay.
again, because we're
That's
not
good.
gonna know.
All right.
Does Thursday evenings work for the board right now?
Yeah,
Okay,
good for me.
because I
Alright.
believe it's okay for Jane most weeks. It
Okay.
just wasn't this particular month.
All right. Yeah, that was my other thought, but there it is. Okay, so and do we want to do the third Thursday as opposed to the second? All right.
I
Third-
can't attend the third, but I could attend the second.
Okay.
all right. What about you, Amy? Are
It
you
doesn't matter to me.
okay?
So if Kim can't come, then
Is
maybe.
is that every month or just next month, Kim?
Just next month, there's a sports banquet I have to go to.
Okay, so why don't for next month, we plan on the 9th? And if I can always have Kim cover the Friends meeting for me, because she's our friend liaison. And then I'll go if I have to.
Okay, so library BOT 6:30, November 9th.
Okay,
All right.
and the
then-
6:30 time is good for everybody too. I liked it. I thought it
I did
worked.
too.
for me.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So we're all good. Amy, you good on it?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, that's good. All right, so there we are. Any other business, or do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay, that's
Second.
Amy. Second from Janet. It is 7:57 p.m. Okay, Landry, aye. Why am I moving across the top of the screen? Mr. Ekberg,
Aye.
Ms. Blank, Ms. Regan,
Aye.
Ms. Maney,
Aye.
Ms. Yasdani.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
But
Thank
just,
Yourself?
I know you guys are
I
adjourned.
did at the beginning, right?
But I just want to mention, because we broached this with the Friends as well, is that we are hoping to have a night, like a holiday potluck, or where we do sandwiches again, similar to last year. And we're looking potentially on a Monday evening in December. So I'm just letting you guys know, as far as long-term planning, that we'd like to invite you guys again. It's kind of like, what replaced the staff dinners, right? So Kim and I kind of host everybody, but we're going to invite the Friends Executive Board and the trustees to join us. So we'll have more information on that in November, but I just wanted to mention that now, because we only have so many meetings before the holidays, right? So it seems silly to talk about this in October, but
No. Do you have a
okay.
specific date? It's going to be a Monday in
it'll
December?
probably be a Monday afternoon, pretty early in December.
Alright.
So we'll just let you guys know. So if you have
Yeah,
any
there's only 3 Mondays in December. The fourth one is Christmas, so.
Yes,
Oh,
so that is the other reason, Amy, why I'm mentioning it now, is that just for planning purposes, this is
Okay.
gonna be kind of, we gotta do it pretty early, so.
Mhm.
Either 4th or 11th, it looks like, so. That's
Yeah.
it.
Will this be similar to what we did for Librarians Week? Or
No,
only one
it's just,
day?
Kim and I do it, and then we give out like presents and stuff,
Okay.
so,
Alright.
it's just an opportunity for us to come together. Both groups, you get to meet some of the newer Friends members, and then, maybe.
Yeah, you did it last year. It was nice, yeah.
Maybe you could maybe find a new trustee. in
Well,
that
that's what I was thinking, do a little recruiting.
group, so.
Shameless recruiting, yes.
Coaching, yeah, that's good.
Coaching is the word, yes, okay. That's good. All right, so thank you for that, and good night, everyone, and thank you for your hard work for the library, and please thank the Friends for the book sale.
Yeah,
Right.
they did a great
Yes.
job.
They were
The one
splendid.
other thing I'll mention too is that Leah and I will be at Trunk or Treat on the 21st. If anybody would like to, you're all welcome to join us. I don't think any of the Friends exec board members are coming, but they did give us $300 for candy.
Oh,
So we're gonna
good.
go nuts. So,
Wow.
$300?
yeah,
Oh my
$300.
God.
Well,
Nice.
if you haven't been to a Trunk or Treat, I'm gonna tell you, we're probably gonna give all that away because
It's like
those,
400 kids, right?
yeah, they come back for seconds. So,
course.
but it's on the 21st in the afternoon. So just if you want to stop by and say hi, or you want to help volunteer, just let me know. Okay?
That's good. Thank you for
The
that.
Friends
Oh,
does this?
The Friends they help support it, but it's gonna be Leah and I who are over there
Ah,
that day. So
okay.
none of the
21st is a Saturday?
Yeah.
Are you in
it's
costume?
a Saturday. Yep. None of the Friends wanted to volunteer to do it.
oh, why is that, I wonder, right?
Are you
yeah.
in costume?
So Leah and I believe, are gonna dress up. So if you
Okay.
guys want to see that, that's the whole reason to stop by. Yeah. It's quite the event. We did it last year and it was nuts. So it's,
I heard it was great.
Sounds
Thank you for
good.
doing that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
This is peanut butter.
Good night,
cup,
everyone.
I remember.
All
Okay,
right,
good night,
happy
everybody.
October.
Thanks.